Yo.
What up, man? I'm just about to open my LaCroix pamplemousse. Is that a
Mm,
fruit? Is
it's
a,
one of
is a
my favorites.
pamplemousse? What is a pamplemousse? That's what we're going to talk about today.
That's
Pamplemousses. Pamplemousse. Pamplemousse.
that's grapefruit.
Hmm.
Yep.
All right.
It's yummy.
Cool. Pamplemousse. Grapefruit. Isn't it just easier to say grapefruit?
Hey,
I'm showing my
it's kind of like
ignorance, and that's okay. I'm showing my ignorance. I don't
makes it
really.
sound fancy. It's just kind of like LaCroix. It's fancy. It's fancy water.
Oh,
Sparkly.
sparkly, fancy pamplemousse.
Yeah.
Okay. Despite my strongest desire to remain on the topic of pamplemousse, uh, I think we have a pretty good topic today.
Yeah. Yeah. I was finished up this book, Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. Amazing book, by the way, for everyone. Highly recommend it. But at the end, he has a an additional PDF document that you can go and get on his website with actionable steps on how to unhurry. He calls it unhurry, uh, and he talks a lot about taking on information and then actually doing something about it. Which is very unlikely to happen in today's society. And I just thought it was a very interesting concept, this idea of information to action ratio. And we've had conversations with people before about how many books they're reading, and you get all this information from podcasts and your education and webinars and all this stuff. But I'm curious how often these people are actually doing something about the information that they're receiving, right? So this information to action ratio, that was a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah, man. I'm fascinated by. It seems like, and I'm going to say this, and it sounds judgy, and it's not, but it's kind of crazy to me that we have more information at our fingertips than we've ever had in the history of the entire world, and we're dumber than we've ever been before.
That's not judgy.
And
I mean, you're
no,
speaking, about yourself.
I am, and I think self awareness is paramount. But I we had dinner with a couple this weekend, awesome couple, and one of the things that as we were talking, I was sharing with him how I've recently become very I've been a junkie for debates. I've been watching debates, and the ones I've been watching are like just simple topics like religion and politics, and these inconsequential things, these big
Simple,
heavy
real simple
topics,
topics. Yeah.
simple. And I have really enjoyed it because what it demonstrates is, especially on things like faith, where most of us, or religion, or politics, is these topics that most you see in society, most people cannot even have a normal conversation. It devolves into yelling and accusations, and you're just, we did that podcast about when you're wrong. You can't, your conversations, you conclude either they don't have the same information you have if they don't agree with you, they're just stupid if they don't agree with you, or they're evil, right? Like those are your kind of conclusions that you can draw. But the debates are fascinating because it's between two individuals who have vastly differing views that would inspire, in any other context, would inspire most likely a high level of emotion. And so, like, when you have an atheist and a religious scholar having a conversation, a debate, making point and counterpoint about the the validity of God or faith or religion, it is a fascinating thing to observe, because they actually like have a really good conversation. They're both extremely smart and have wonderful points, very well read, and just the sources that they can draw from in the moment is extremely humbling, and it's also very impressive. but then they shake hands afterwards and everybody claps and you've witnessed a critical thought exercise and a conversation that was very civil. And so my point to all that is, we were talking about this, and it turns out this gentleman was, he's a agnostic, and I'm Christian, and we started talking about all the things we have in common, and it was the list of the things we have in common was a lot, and we had a very pleasant conversation. But we were also going around this idea that we've just lost the ability to have these conversations despite all the information out there, and maybe because of the information out there, we have so much of it that we're being fed our opinions and all these things that we've talked about in the past, but then it's the part to take action, right? And in this context, you read all these books and you listen to the news and you take it all in, but what do you do about it? What do you do with it? Who are you engaging? How are you challenging your biases? Like, what are you doing with it? And I'll tell you, I used to be super impressed by the people who are like, I read a book a week or 2 books a week, and and it was all about the list. I used to be really impressed with that. And now what I'm really impressed with is the people that thoughtfully take these things and do something about it. And it seems like it's more and more rare, right? The analysis paralysis, or even the idea of looking at a counterpoint and whatever it is to further and broaden your perspective and knowledge. It's just interesting to me that the things that used to be so fundamental to education, to learning, to discourse are effectively like it's hard to find.
Yeah. Yeah. This is quoted from this excerpt, but he talks about Neil Postman, who's an NYU professor, and he talks about the effect of TV on our culture. And he coined this phrase, information to action ratio. And he says that the tie between information and action has been severed. Information is now a commodity that can be bought and sold, or used as a form of entertainment, or worn like a garment to enhance one's status. It comes indiscriminately, directed at no one in particular, disconnected from usefulness. We are glutted with the information, drowning in information. We have no control over it, and we don't know what to do with it. Essentially, we have so much information coming into us, the books, the social media, the news, the podcasts, all of this information, and we do nothing about it. We take zero action on it. And, like it's kind of scary that nobody's doing anything about all this information, right? Because there's so much like knowledge out there in the world that you can get for free, and people are failing in life by doing nothing about it, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, and it is crazy, and I think and I even think about it like I'm gonna I've been contemplating taking some of the podcasts off my podcast player because now I have like 15 different ones, and I don't. If anything, I look at it and it overwhelms me because I'm like, oh, there's all this stuff, but really focusing down into a couple areas, I think that's a key too, right? Like we talk about this in the mastermind. Why is it important to understand your why? Why is it important to understand your core values? Why is it important to dig into your passion, your purpose? Why are these things important? Well, I'll tell you, because it also helps you create a beautiful filter to limit some of this stuff. Because if you just are open to it, you can fill your time, and people do it. And it's scrolling, it's video, whatever it is, you can absolutely fill your time. But if you take the time to really nug down into what you're passionate about and what you believe your purpose is, which if you don't explore it, you have no idea, then you can actually refine the things that you're letting in, and you can, you can focus on those areas and then take action to it, right? Because it's not so overwhelming. Like I want to be in real estate. Okay, cool. Everybody and their mom wants to be in real estate. That's great. High five. What kind of real estate? Well, I really like single family homes because X, Y, Z. Not because, and don't listen to the people that say, oh, single family home is a great place to start until you get to multifamily. Like that's baloney, right? Like I love all real estate. I've I've dived into whatever, into all these different facets. And I personally really enjoy single family for the things that it does for me. And even to the scale of rehabs. Like I really enjoy that. So I focus on that. And you can build a portfolio on that. And you don't have to graduate, you don't have to change out. If you understand what your niche is, then you can refine it down and you can start taking action. And if it's multifamily, then you can get into that. And that's great too. You can find syndicators, you can find deals, all these things, right? That's just real estate. But in life in general, what am I passionate about for a vocation? Well, I want to be a veterinarian. Cool. That's great. I believe God created me to be a veterinarian. Then you can start taking veterinarian classes and you can start refining your skills and volunteering your time instead of being like, I just want a job. Okay, well, that's cool. If that's immediate need, then that's fine. You do that, but you're most likely that first one and the second one, you're job hopping, you're doing all these things, and effectively you're not building towards this thing. And so the same thing with the information, right? You can listen to all kinds of stuff all day long. You can never. I was listening to this podcast called Rabbit Hole. New York Times did it, and it said the hours of YouTube consumption in a day globally, the hours of YouTube consumption in a day, I believe the stat was equates to 140,000 years or something like that. All the people on earth watching YouTube, you add all that up, it's like 140,000 years, or maybe it's 114,000. Regardless, it's 100 and something thousand years. That's all you need to know.
It's a lot.
That's a ton of time. So it's time wasted if you're focused on what it is that you want to do because you spent time to consider your why, you spent time to consider your purpose, you spent time doing these things to become self-aware, and then you're able to focus in, and then you can also it's very clear what the opposite or what the opposition or whatever is, and you should spend some time there too to refine your critical thinking, to challenge your assumptions, to challenge if I really want to be a single family guy, to challenge if I'm a Christian, to challenge if I'm an atheist, right? With some actual knowledge and data on things that are important to you, not just this open mind and open ears of just consuming all the garbage out there. It's interesting to me how much time we can waste. And what's even more interesting, and unless you acknowledge this, it's going to be a jail that you're just going to sit in ignorance. I hate to break it to you, but social media, the news, TV, they literally run algorithms and spend hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to get you sucked into that. So you don't even stand a chance unless you have something to fight against. Fight that. And I think that the best way to fight that, the best tool is self-awareness and understanding what you truly want out of your life. So you're not sucked into all these other outlets that are literally built to do that. You've got no chance. You really don't. You're not that smart. Neither am I.
Sorry to break it to you, but you're just not that smart.
You're not that smart.
But on
and
a
chances
serious
are,
note,
most of your opinions are probably wrong. and that's another beauty of it, is that we're usually wrong. And so to challenge that is also a great thing.
Yeah. So stop consuming as much as you do. Take more action. Change that information to action ratio. Maybe try not to stop making goals of like reading X number of books per year, but instead read like half of that or a third of that and actually take action on the stuff that you're learning. Try that this year.
And I would even say if you want to read 50 books a year, cool. But like do something about it. Like you should be self-aware enough at the end of the year, unless you just like reading, right? Like there's that too. I just like reading, mindless, thoughtless stuff because it helps me relax. Awesome. Then go into it knowing that you do that, and that's fine. Read 1,000 books a year, great. But understand what the opportunity cost is. But like I've started reading books over again because they're, extreme ownership. I read it again. Mindset, I'm just wrapping that up again because they're such powerful books, and I did not get out of them the actions that came out of them were not nearly the potential that they could be. And so I recognize that, and I'm like, oh, I'll just read that again because it's a really good book, or re-listen to podcasts or whatever, right? It doesn't have to be, just more and more and more. It could be better, better, better.
Like it. Love it. Go do it. Challenge yourself.
I want some more of it.
Good stuff.
Giddy up.
See you.
See ya.